Okay, the Choose UV Solver section. Now this is easy. If you're using a version before 2022.3, you're only going to have LSCM available to you. You need version 2022.3 or newer to have Unfold 3D available to you as a solver. Okay, so we keep the LSCM as default because every time the Unfold is used in an operation, it needs to open up the UV editor for you, which kind of loses time on your day here when you have to worry about it opening and closing for every operation that you're working on, or for at least a lot of the operations anyhow. I'm going to take this and just blob it. Okay. And so let's dive into how this works. So LSCM is the default. So whatever you're operating on here, it's just going to get the job done and show you the results. If we change it to Unfold 3D, let me give you an example here. LSCM, I'm going to turn off back facing. I'll select this and I will left click. Okay, there we go. I'm going to select Unfold 3D, select this, and left click. Now at this point, I have to open up the UV editor to perform the function without max crashing because the Unfold 3D algorithms require the editor to be active. Okay, and that's for the packing button as well. So anytime you're using the pack 4 as a default, which I'm going to put it back to 3 as default, then it will open up the editor for that. So let's go back to LSCM as the default here. And let me show you something. If you have this object, and we'll make it look like this, I'm going to now use LSCM with a right click. Now we've created that flower shape. Now if I open up this floater window so you get a better view of this, okay, we're going to now use Unfold 3D to do that same shape. To solve the same element, I mean. So what I'm going to do here is select that, but instead of having to switch to Unfold 3D, then click this and do the full setup again, I'm just going to double click to select the element. Then I'm going to right click spread. So these two buttons here, this will iterate through every element and then spread each element and pack it according to the pack settings, and it will do it per element. Okay, so I'll create an example of how this fully functions in a moment. And then next we have where it won't iterate through elements, but it will iterate solving the elements, then pack them all together, okay, based upon the pack settings. So right now, if I left click, it will use whatever UV solver I have set. And if I right click either of these buttons, it's going to use the UV solver that is not selected, okay? So left click, LSCM, right click, Unfold 3D. Okay. Left click, LSCM, right click, Unfold 3D. Okay. Now if I changed it, it will be the opposite. Left click is now Unfold 3D, right click is now LSCM. You get the idea? Okay, so let me give you an example here for this. I'm just going to box map this real quick, and we're going to select spread. See how it spreads every element and then it just stacks it? Or it packs each element based upon the pack settings. Now, if we use this other spread, it actually packs it this way. So there you go. So that is the solver selection. Now we have this modifier. It's a UV fixinator, I call it. If you go through and you do something to an object a lot, and you happen to come across it, I can never force it to happen. It just happens out of the blue. There's a point where the data in the UV modifier will become slightly, not corrupted, but distorted. Okay. So when we try to map something, it just doesn't look right and it becomes jarbled. I'll give you an example visual since I can't force it to happen. I've been trying to force it for a long time. It just happens randomly. All right, so here we go. We have the jarbled element here. It says solver jumbled. There's some extra information you can go through here. But this is what we expect and this is what we get. So when we run into a problem like that, We need to fix it without breaking our modifier stack and all that other stuff. So what we do for that is let's add a 2 and a 3. Okay, I'm going to select 2 and preview what that looks like. Imagine that that number 2 is broken. Okay, that's jarbled. We'll actually do that. Let's select these faces here, and I'm just going to go into Tools and mirror that, and then I don't know, we're going to rotate it a bit too. No, it rotates the entire element. I forget. All right, so that's a little jarbled there. And we want to fix that, resolve it. But no matter how many times we click spread, it's not fixing itself. And that's the issue in its own thing. It won't ungoof. Well, let me go back to 2. Load number 2 in. So at this point, we can select delete replaced modifier, but we're going to leave it for the sake of this video. So I'm going to Control and left click. And what happens is we add another modifier, we copy the data to it, and then we put it in the placement that it's supposed to be in. Okay, so it's in the correct position, and we've actually taken the previous one, the one that has the supposed broken data that we can't fix through any methods without having to manually do it. And there it is. We can delete that out once we verify that this other one is working correctly. Now, since this is just a theoretical example, I'm not going through that full step for you. When I do run into that problem, I will go through those steps and provide a video for it. Let's see here. I'm going to select this, left click spread, select everything and pack it. That looks good. That would mean that the solver is working. You don't need to go to that extent. You can just select the one piece that isn't solving and then solve that and you're good to go. Okay, so I don't want to over-explain that. I think this should be self-explanatory, but I like providing details, I guess. So here we are. We're going to close that one, and we're going next into Texel.